Hi guys, welcome back to Vlogmas. I'm just going to sit here for a little while. Hopefully it won't be too long. And this is just going to be a little talking vlog. What I'm going to talk about is memorable Christmases for me when I was growing up. So, of course, most of my real younger years I don't remember. But Christmas, I think I said this like last year or something in one of my very first Christmas vlogs last year or year before, whenever it was. My Christmases when I was younger were big. My dad's side of the family, we'd all get together. There was always like 15, 16 of us every Christmas. We'd spend it with my dad's side of the family. So we'd be up early in the morning, like 6:30 in the morning. Then we'd just go up the road because it wasn't far to my grandparents' house, and we'd always have Christmas morning opening presents there. And it was always a big surprise when we'd open the doors to the very front room and this really small Christmas tree sitting on a table, and then underneath these huge presents that took up almost half the room. And what we'd have to do is someone would play Santa and hand out the presents, but we'd have to wait to get a present. So they'd give out one present at a time, but you had to wait until that present was open for another present to be given out. Now you can imagine with like 15, 16 people, how long that would take. So it'd be 11 o'clock, sometimes a little bit later before we were having proper breakfast. And then after that, we'd have a little bit of time playing with our presents and that. And then we'd have to do lunch. Now, depending on it, there was 3 of the families all lived in the same small town. The other ones lived closer to Melbourne, so they'd always go up to the country for that. But the 3 houses in the small town would each year Christmas would be held at a different place. So depending on where it was held would depend on how long you had to play with your presents. And that went on up until 97 was the last year we did that. I'm not going to go into it because there's a lot of personal stuff as to why. But yeah, that's it. So there were a lot of memorable Christmases. I remember one in particular. I don't know if any of you remember in the 90s, the TV show Dinosaurs. The baby dinosaur, there was a toy out and you pulled the string in the back and it said different phrases that the baby said on the show. And when I opened it, I was so excited because I loved the show and I loved the baby. And the first time I pulled the string, I had it, and this wasn't deliberate because I was only little. It was pointed at my dad, and I pulled the string, and the first thing it said was, "Hello, fat boy." And everyone just cracked up laughing. Even my dad, he thought it was hilarious. Another thing that I remember mostly is one of my aunts. She was sort of like the life of the party. She loved to party. Sadly, she's no longer with us. But if you wanted a good laugh and a good time, she was there. And, of course, every Christmas she'd get several pairs of socks. So as soon as she'd open her present with socks, she'd put the socks on. So she could have, by the end of opening presents, she could be wearing half a dozen pairs of socks. That was her. That's what she did. Yeah, I remember there's a few things that I don't want to remember. But I do remember one Christmas, two of my cousins, they got a Nintendo. And yeah, everyone was so excited, so were they. So they started playing it first. After a little while, we asked if we could play it, but they said no. The very next year, I think it was, or the year after, the Super Nintendo came out, and my two sisters and I, we got that. So we wanted to play it and that, and opened it and played it, and of course my cousins asked if they could play it, and we said no. They didn't like that, but the previous year they did it to us. So, but you know, as I look back on it, it's like silly little moments like that I remember. And I remember one year getting a bike. It wasn't in the room; it was outside because it had been set up out the back. And also that same year, my sister got 2 bunny rabbits. Can't remember what their names were, but yeah, I remember she got those. Another thing, one year my sister wanted a glory box. And she was just expecting this small box that would sit at the end of her bed. But no, my pop... he made it huge, you know. I'm trying to think how big it would be. You could, almost the size of a 2-seater couch. It's huge, and she still has it. They actually had to get it into the house. It had to come through the bedroom window. To take a window out and that and do stuff with the windows. So, yeah, it's there. They're probably my most memorable. Probably my worst Christmas was probably 1997, because that was the year my dad died, and it was our first Christmas without him. My dad loved Christmas. It was his favourite time of the year. He loved he loved anything that got the family together. But yeah, it was just a really hard one for all of us. So, yeah, that'd probably have to be my worst Christmas, because it was the first one without him. I didn't write anything down because I thought, oh yeah, I'll remember it. No, it's probably a lot of other things, but yeah, our Christmases were, you know, as a kid, I really enjoyed it, but when thinking back on it now, I don't miss it, because it's just too long a day, especially for kids. You know, 6:30 in the morning until late at night. Oh, another thing we used to do was this thing called the funny tree. So everyone would go out, like, and the adults would go and buy just small little presents, and they put little funny little things on it that were like little joke things and little phrases that had something to do with the present. And that was always done, you know, about an hour or so after we had lunch. And lunch usually wasn't until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And even then we had like 3-4 different meats. You had different salads and all the roast veggies, everything, and all the different desserts. It was crazy. But yeah. And as for the Christmas this year, it's just going to be here at home, me and Matthew. We will go see his niece and nephew and his sister and her husband in the morning. But otherwise, yeah, it's just going to be me and Matthew, because it depends on his work, whether he has to work. And I spent it with, last couple of years, we've spent it with my family, and they understand that we can't go up there all the time, because there's like a 3-hour drive away. So, yeah. Yeah, Christmas when I was young was always good, especially like if it was hot and we were having like Christmas lunch at my grandparents' house was good, because they had the swimming pool. So That was always really good. Mostly us kids, and my dad would go swimming. But yeah, that's about it, because I think I'm going to run out of room. So thanks for joining me on Vlogmas Day 3. I'll see you tomorrow for Day 4. Bye everyone.